when we had a whole bizarre group of, when I say bizarre, candidates who weren't from the Ohio House. We no longer were just using the House as a farm team. We've got Grace Drake, who had like a 3% name ID. She was up against Frank Monick, who was a well-known House member. We had Dave Hobson up against an incumbent, and Dave had just lost his race for the House. But he was committed to doing some stuff. Gary Sewell-Nolik, who was just a constant hard worker in a crappy district that generally probably isn't going to win. Gene Watts, never elected before, military man, picked by Tom Van Meter. We go into these races, we have limited resources. The election year is starting to look good. It's this, that, and the other, but we were going to do everything based on polling. Everything was going to be based on fact. And we come down to the last 2 weeks, and we've run out of money. And we have to cut people off. And the people that the caucus wanted to cut off were Gene Watts and Gary Sewell-Nolik. And they called me up and they said, "This isn't fair, we're working hard." I said, "I agree." I went to Jim Tilling, I said, "We got to do something." He said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to write the check." By the time, this isn't like overnight, by the time it bounces, hopefully money will come in and everything will be fine, but we need to keep the guys. Jim agreed. So he and I kept it a secret, and I make this decision with Jim like on a Wednesday. A Supreme Court justice calls us and says, "Hey, I want to meet with you guys on Saturday morning." So we go, "Oh yeah, great." So we go into this meeting with Paul Gilmore, Supreme Court Justice, Jim and I. We get a call down from the gate because the State House used to have, and the Senate lot would have this guardhouse and a parking lot right there. And he goes, "Have this package for you. Do you want it? Didn't know you guys were in the office." "Yeah, we'll take it." Okay, so he comes up, opens it up, and it's a envelope from the National Republican Committee. Okay, and Paul opens it up, and it's almost for the exact amount that I wrote to Gary Sewell-Nolik, to Gene Watts, almost the exact amount. And Paul goes, "Get this in the bank." I said, "Go call, get the TV buy done." And I just sit there. And he goes, "No, you and Jim, go get this done." I said, "Paul, it's Saturday, they don't do it. Plus I did it a week ago." And he, as Paul would always do, shimmer and shake his head a little bit and poke his glasses, and he goes, You wrote the check?" I said, "Yeah, I actually used your stamp that you gave me to sign it." And he goes, "Whoa, what was going to happen if it bounced?" I said, "We just have to figure a way." And he says, didn't say to me, took the stamp away from me or took the checkbook away from me. He just says, "Okay." And we chuckled about it years later because it was those risks that you have to take in races that ultimately worked out just fine. The 15s and 15s were really Patty Russell's idea. Yeah, it was just a cheaper way to get what you wanted with higher frequency, because that's what we're always looking for, is trying to, particularly in places where, said with Grace Drake, with the 3% name ID, you need to just have frequency, and so that's how these split 15s worked out. But yeah, you've been using them before. In that particular race, we pounded away at the 90% income tax increase, and we produced millions of, I think in one mailer we sent out 1 million phony checks. It said it was your refund check. It was the average refund for everybody in the state of Ohio, and we put on a "canceled by Dick Celeste." And we sent out these warrants. They looked identical because they were identical. I took my paycheck, and we took off the routing numbers and had it photocopied, and essentially, used that as our basis to manufacture the thing. And we pounded on that from 1982 to 2000, 2005, 2010. I don't think that of all the mistakes that were ever made by the Democrats, the 90% income tax increase, in particular where the Republicans in the Senate were willing to compromise at 50%. There were actual meetings in 1983 when Celeste had gone into office. They wanted to have the tax increase. We said we'll do a permanent 50. They rejected us. They said no, we'll do this on our own. And if they would have taken that permanent 50%, you wouldn't have the Ohio Senate today. That Harry and Michelle ever made was not taking our compromise position.